At the beginning, we see a hitman named John Smith. Smith is being interrogated by the Spanish police chief along with two of his men. The police chief was supposed to be Smith's next target, but he caught Smith instead. And now, the police chief wanted to know who had asked Smith to kill him. However, Smith was just silent, and it made the police chief annoyed. After that, the police chief planned to continue torturing Smith with a high-powered stun. But here they didn't realize that Smith had managed to remove the handcuffs on his hands. And this is what happened. As a result, the police chief and his men died in Smith's hands. Then, the scene moved showing a hacker named Howard who was seen sending a secret file to his friend. Howard was a little nervous considering that he had just stolen the file code from a mafia leader, whose system he managed to hack. After that, Howard went to a bar to meet a thug who was selling tickets and illegal passports because Howard planned to fly to America. When they met, the thug asked Howard for the secret file code. Then Howard replied that he came to see him just to buy tickets and passports to America. Howard also explained that he had sent the code file to his friend, and now he didn't have it. At the same time, there were two other thugs who came to approach Howard. Then they forced Howard to go somewhere so they could interrogate Howard and get the file code. But suddenly, a man named Daniel stopped them, and without thinking, Daniel finished off the thug along with his two men. After successfully finishing off the thugs, Daniel immediately takes Howard to an empty warehouse for interrogation. And it turns out that Daniel is the right hand of a mafia leader who was sent to get the code file. It is known that the code file contains all the crimes of Daniel's boss, the leader of the mafia. At first, Howard lied by saying that Daniel had mistaken the person, because Howard didn't know anything about the file code that Daniel wanted. But after fearing that he would be killed, Howard finally told Daniel that he had sold the file code to his friend, Anton. Howard also told him that Anton would go to the Mexican border in the next few days before returning to America. After that, Howard hoped that Daniel would let him go, but he was then immediately killed by Daniel. The scene moved showing an old man named Silver, who was reading a newspaper. Shortly, Daniel approached Silver, and it turned out that this old man is Daniel's boss, who ordered him to look for the secret code file containing all his crimes. Here, Daniel explained that he couldn't find the code file, but now Daniel knows that the code file is in someone's hand. That is Anton. Hearing that, Silver immediately asked Daniel to get the code file soon. Then Daniel said that Anton would be at the Mexican border in the next few days, and he would definitely get the file code before Anton returns to America. Now, the scene shows Smith, who will go by boat to meet his mentor. After a few hours, Smith finally meets his mentor. This old man is the mentor, who usually links a hitman like Smith with the clients. Here, the mentor immediately rebukes Smith because he was caught by Spanish chief police, who is Smith's target. However, Smith said that the most important thing is that Smith succeeds in finishing off the target even though it took longer than he expected. For the last few months, Smith is not as tough as he used to be, especially since his wife died in a car accident. Realizing that Smith still could not forget his wife's death, the mentor asked Smith to take a break from his job. But Smith refused because he thought by still working, he can move on soon. In the end, the mentor gave Smith another job, that is taking a secret code from Anton. And before leaving, the mentor said that Anton would be at the Mexican border in the next few days. The mentor also told the places where Anton usually stops by. Later, Smith rushes to the Mexican border with some information previously provided by his mentor. Anton, who is Smith's target, is a hacker who has bankrupted several corporations. In the evening, Smith just arrived in Mexico and plans to rest first at an inn. He also hires a hooker that night to accompany him. In his room, Smith remembers his late wife, so Smith wouldn't do anything with this woman. The woman's name is Esmeralda. All night, they just talked while watching the TV. Here, Esmeralda asks what Smith's purpose is for coming to this city. Then Smith says that he is an assassin who will finish off his target. After that, Smith asks Esmeralda the reason for her to become a callgirl. Hearing that, Esmeralda answers that she did all this because she has to pay for the treatment of her sick sibling. The next morning, Smith secretly puts money on the bed while Esmeralda is still asleep. After that, he rushes off to start his mission in hunting down his target, Anton. It turns out that Smith is visiting a hotel that Anton usually stays in. When Smith is ushered in, the hotel butler looks suspicious. Smith, who was aware of this, immediately pointed a gun at the hotel butler. It turned out that he was the person ordered by the mentor to help Smith carry out the mission. Knowing this, Smith immediately asked the man to show all the CCTV in this hotel. After monitoring the CCTV for a long time, finally Smith saw Anton, who had just entered the hotel guarded by his 2 bodyguards. Here, Smith knew one of the bodyguard, and he was named Lola Skye. Lola was a former assassin who was quite cruel in the past. A few hours later, Smith ordered the hotel waiter to deliver food to Anton, in which Smith had attached a recording device in the tissue box. Before leaving, Smith asked the waiter to come back immediately if he had delivered the food. But arriving in Anton's room, the waiter talked too much and made Anton become suspicious. In the end, Anton ordered Lola and one of his black-haired bodyguards to immediately finish off the waiter. When the waiter was about to be finished, fortunately, Smith came to help, and then there was a fight. In this incident, one of Anton's bodyguards, Lola, tried to take Anton away through the elevator, but Smith swiftly chased her. After the elevator opened, Lola told Anton to immediately run away using the car. But at the same time, Smith was able to beat Lola, then he chased Anton. In the end, Smith managed to corner Anton. Here, Anton's bodyguard wanted to stop Smith's car. But without hesitation, Smith immediately bumped into him, so he died immediately. On the other side, it turns out that the waiter is now being held hostage by Daniel, Silver's right-hand man. Daniel asked where Smith and Anton were, but the waiter said that he did not know at all. Later, when the waiter said he had Smith's number, Daniel immediately took the waiter's cell phone and killed him. Back to Smith, who is now taking Anton to a deserted place. Along the way, Anton tries to escape, but Smith then stops him with a shot. Here, Smith asks why Anton bankrupted many big companies and what exactly is the contents of the file. Then Anton finally wants to tell everything. He really hates big companies which always prioritize profit rather than quality. This happened after Anton lost his wife and child 3 years ago due to a car accident. At that time, Anton had just bought a new car, but the car had a system breakdown due to a production failure. Hearing Anton's story, Smith suddenly remembered his late wife, who had also died in a car accident even though it was a new car. Plus, the type of car driven by Smith's wife was the same as the car driven by Anton's family. Anton said that this type of car was produced carelessly by a company owned by Silver, an old man who is the head of the mafia. In the end, Smith decided not to kill Anton and told Anton to get back into the car. On the way, Anton's continuing his story regarding the secret file code that is now being targeted by Silver. It turns out that Silver will soon sell this car company to another party at a very high price. Meanwhile, the contents of the code file are all Silver's crime data in building his car company, including bribing officials in marketing the car, even though it was produced carelessly and very substandard. Hearing this, Smith, who had intended to kill Anton, now turned around to protect Anton. He also plans to bring Anton to America and give the file code to the FBI before Silver's company is bought by another party. After a long drive, Smith stopped his car beside a stall to buy some drinks while Anton was asked to just wait in the car. When Smith had just paid for the drinks at the cashier, there were some thugs sent by Silver to finish off Smith and take Anton away. Realizing this, Smith immediately prepared himself, and there was a gunshot. When he was about to leave, it turned out that one of the thugs was about to take Anton away, but Smith quickly saved Anton by doing this. After that, Smith brought Anton back to America. They were stuck in traffic because there were many vehicles also heading for America. At the same place, Lola caught up with Smith and Anton because she had previously installed a tracking device on Anton's car, which Smith is currently driving. Not only Lola, but Daniel was also there because he managed to track down Smith's cell phone. Daniel and Lola were seen approaching Anton's car, while Smith himself, who was already aware of their presence, immediately asked Anton to get out of the car. On one occasion, Daniel managed to find Anton, but Smith immediately attacked him from behind. When Daniel and Smith were fighting, Lola quickly took Anton away from there. Smith, who was now cornered, decided to run away along with the crowd. Long story short, Daniel met his boss again. Here, Daniel said that he had negotiated with Lola for an interchange of $1 million and Anton. Hearing this, Silver said that tomorrow night, Daniel had to finish Anton and Lola, and this meant that Silver would absolutely not give his $1 million to Lola no matter what. On the other hand, Smith went to a bar to take a break for a while. Then he contacted his mentor and told him what had happened. The mentor explained that the client who had sent Smith was actually Silver. But now, the mentor had received information that Silver was just using them, because if Smith has got Anton, then Smith will also be finished and will never get paid. Hearing this, Smith told that Anton is now with Lola. Smith, who has known Lola for a long time, is sure that Lola will ask Silver for ransom. Then the mentor said that Silver would only trap Lola because Silver would not be willing to spend a penny. Smith's mentor also told Smith that Silver often made illegal transactions in an abandoned building. It is the government project building which is now abandoned because the money was corrupted by Silver. When Smith was about to leave the bar, the people there wanted to arrest Smith because they were Silver's men. After paralyzed several of them, Smith decided to run away. Unfortunately, when Smith's running, he was shot in the back. After that, Smith took a taxi to Esmeralda's place, the call girl who once accompanied him. Arriving there, Esmeralda immediately treated Smith's wound with all her heart. They get carried away, and they end up making love. The next morning, when Smith was having breakfast, he was surprised because Daniel came with his man. Smith was afraid that Esmeralda would become a victim, so he decided to run away with Esmeralda. After killing one of Daniel's men, Smith and Esmeralda were shot by Daniel. But fortunately, they were both able to escape from that place. Then they rush to the abandoned building to meet Anton. Shortly, when they get near the building, Smith asks Esmeralda to go as far as possible because he doesn't want Esmeralda to get into big trouble. Initially, Esmeralda refused because she wanted to be with Smith, especially since her sibling had died. But Smith still wants Esmeralda to go. Then Smith entered the building to find Anton, who was with Lola. When Smith approached, Lola shot him immediately. Lola then hid Anton in a room while she returned to fight Smith. Here, Smith tried to remind Lola if Silver would never pay her. Even Silver planned to kill Lola and Smith as well to get rid of the evidence. Lola, who didn't believe it, still wanted to fight Smith. Until on one occasion, Smith managed to corner Lola. Here, Smith said that he would not finish off Lola as long as she immediately left this place. After believing what Smith said, finally Lola left. Shortly after that, Daniel came to that building. Then there was a fight between Daniel and Smith. Unfortunately, in this fight, Smith was cornered by Daniel. When Daniel was going to finish off Smith, suddenly Lola saved Smith. After everything was finished, Smith and Anton left the building. Smith was surprised because Esmeralda was still waiting for him. As it turned out, she really did not want to separate from Smith. Later, Smith took Anton to hand over the file code to the FBI. Meanwhile, Smith would retire as a hitman and start a new life with Esmeralda. The next morning, Silver, who already knew that all his crimes had now been uncovered, finally chose to suicide. And months later, Esmeralda and Smith now look happy, especially since they will soon have a baby.